my name is Belkis, and today I will be making a tutorial on how to cut a placket. This is a placket and how to sew it. It is very easy. Let's get started. So on your fabric, first you have to determine the length, the width of your placket and the length. This is the width and this is the length. On the average, the width of the placket is like 1 inch, and then for the length, for this I made 7 inches. So it depends on how long you want it to be. That is left to you. And then you add in like 2 extra inches depending on the length you want from here to be. So now for the width, I'll be cutting out 3 inches. I will explain this. ½ inch on each side for the sewing allowance. We are left with 2 inches. So when you fold, it becomes 1 inch. So that is the reason why we are cutting out 3 inches. So we'll be cutting out 2, 1 for each side. So just draw a straight line on your fabric, and from the edge, measure out 3 inches. And from there again, measure out 3 inches. So that makes it 6. And then draw a straight line. So for the length, I'll just make it 10 inch, because if I have any excesses more than 7 inches or 8 inches, I could just trim it off. So I'll be making it 3 inch by 10 inches. So here I have 6. So 3, 3. And then also draw a straight line here to separate it, so it will be easy for you to cut out. Then you cut. So after cutting it out, so here I have 3 inches by 10 inches. So I will trim off the excesses for the length. So you need 2, 1 for each side. And then what you have to do is just get a very light interlining or stay or whatever. So place the wrong side of it to the gummy surface with an iron. After doing that, you get this. So here I have the interlining and this is it. And then we move over to the sewing machine to sew. So first you have to measure out on the midpoint of the fabric. So this is the middle. You can see a fold is formed. So just measure out the length of the placket, how long you want it to be. I want mine to be 7 inches. So just note that. So now we'll be sewing in. Here I want to sew on the wrong side. So you place the right side of this fabric on the wrong side of your fabric where you want to place the placket. So it will be right side on the wrong side. So now from the beginning, you'll be sewing in ½ inch. Remember we said ½ inch for sewing allowance here and ½ inch for sewing allowance. So you'll be sewing in ½ inch. Make sure it is aligned with this. And then you sew it down to this point. So now I will advise you to just measure out ½ inch if you don't want to make any mistake. So now you could just mark out ½ inch, then we take to the sewing machine. And then we start sewing. Make sure it is no more than ½ inch. Make sure you back stitch. And then, so when you get to the point of the 7 inch, you stop and then back stitch, and that is it. So we do this also for the second part, right on the wrong side of the fabric. So let's do it. So after sewing the other part, then we'll have to cut open the mid point where the fold is. But before you do that, just measure ½ inch up here. From the center, measure half an inch. So you cut up till this point and then you cut diagonal to the edge of the seam line. Make sure you do not cut the seam line, and also this way. So let's start. So when you get to this midpoint, just cut diagonal this way. Be sure not to cut the seam thread, and then also this way. So, and this is what we have. Then we turn to the right side. Then bring out the plackets. And this is what you have. You could just press it down and just use an iron. So now remember, we're taking half an inch. We still have half an inch for another seam allowance. So just fold this way. After folding, then make sure you put this in this way and then fold this way to cover the seam exactly on where the seam line is. Can you see how placket is formed? So then we'll sew in just very little, and then we sew right down to that 7 inches point. So we'll start sewing on the seam. Make sure it covers the seam, and you just want to take just a little, and then you sew down. Stitch, and then you keep sewing. And you just want to stop at that 7 inches point. Then you pass, and that is it. And you see the placket is formed. So we do that for the second part. So now that we've finished for the second part, so we have this. So now from here, I want mine facing the left side. So I'll place this on this. And then from here, from the 7 inch mark, I want it just to be like 1.5 inch. So I'll just measure from here, 1.5 inch, like this. So you trim this off to like remain 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, because we don't want it showing. So after doing that, then you trim this off also to 1 inch longer than the 1.5 inch. So after doing that, then you place it on each other and then fold this in. And then this, make sure you tuck all this in. So then we'll sew. We sew this way, just the box, and also here, and then here. So we have a box. Let's move to the sewing machine. Start by sewing the box. Make sure you back stitch and then start sewing. So when you get to the edge of this point, raise up your footer and then turn around, and then sew till this edge. You raise your footer with your pin in the fabric, then you turn again, and then we come down up to the 7 inch point, and then you sew. So when you get to the end of that 7 inch point, you raise your footer again with your pin in the cloth, then you sew till this edge to meet this edge, and then we are done. And don't forget to back stitch, and then we are done with our placket. So now our placket is formed. You can see it is formed. It is so easy to make. And see, look at it on the wrong side. Can you see it? It's also as neat as the front side, and that is it on placket. Hope my tutorial has been helpful on how to make a placket. If it has, give me a thumbs up, subscribe and share. Thank you.